Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to either the penultimate episode or the last episode of this, our spooky month. We have done John Wayne Gacy, The Killer Clown. We've also done Mary Shelley, and our first of the episodes was The Curse of the Mummy.
Spooky.
Our last episode has the potential to be really cool and on location, but it is very weather dependent, hence the whole possibly the last, possibly the penultimate. We don't know yet.
The weather at the moment, if it stays as it is, like not as it's been today, yesterday, but as it was the start of the week, we stand a good chance.
We do.
But we'll see.
But yeah, so you might hear from us again. You might not. That's the fun of this channel, isn't it?
You'll hear from us again with another episode, maybe just not that one.
Yeah. Anyway.
We're coming back. This is it.
Welcome to a dark cup of history.
Today's episode is a look back at the supernatural. A beast that has been depicted in nearly all forms of media, in most genres, TV shows, movies, and even music. The humble a werewolf. Are they real? Do they only turn on a full moon? Do they all eat human flesh, or is there vegetarian options? All these questions answered and more in the next 30 minutes or so.
And in this week's Ridiculous Death, we uncover how superstition and fear led to a wolf being dressed as a mare.
As you do.
Mm-hmm. You don't know what it is, so
I do not know what it is. I'm intrigued. I know quite a few werewolf stories, but that is a new one to me. So grab your silver bullet, wait for a full moon, and turn to page 394.
Let's get dark.
Did you like the way I said that?
Yeah.
That was my best Snape impression. I apologise.
And
out of Rickman's soul.
That's fine. And I will say now, you are reading the first bit.
Yeah,
the bullet points, because absolutely not.
Yeah, I've seen some of it.
Good luck.
Okay. The word werewolf derives from Old English werewolf, man-wolf, which is a cognate of the Middle Dutch weerwolf, Middle Low German warwolf, werewolf, Middle High German werwolf, and West Frisian werwolf. An alternative reconstruction, vasivulfas, wolf-clothed, would bring the German phrase closer to the Slavic meaning, with other semantic parallels in Old Norse being the ulfhethnar, which are the wolf-skinned, and the ulfhethin, wolf coat.
God, you're good.
Old Irish luchthorn, or luthorn, wolf skin, and Sanskrit Vrikajina, I think, which means wolf skin. There are so many other pronunciations around the world. I'm good, but I'm not that good, and I wouldn't want to offend. And with some of them, I absolutely would, and I'm pretty sure by the Slavic one I have. And if there's one people you like folklorically, you don't want to piss off, it's the Slavics. So
that's why I didn't do a single one, because I would have offended every culture, even the Old English. So
the weird thing with Old English is it's mostly say what you see, even the weird thing. So like the word light would be lichter. So it's kind of say what you see, but make it as if you're messing around with it.
Fair. I could do that. I don't word good normally, so it might actually make it seem like I do word good.
Yeah.
How exciting. Anyway, werewolf in popular legend is known to be a human who can shapeshift into a wolf or a hybrid wolf-human form known as lycanthropy, which is the mythological ability or power of a human being to undergo transformation into an animal-like state, such as a werewolf.
The earliest recorded reference to a werewolf is thought to be in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is an ancient Sumerian and Akkadian epic poem, and it is epic, about the eponymous hero Gilgamesh. And in this epic, Gilgamesh, the king of the city of Uruk, goes on a quest to find immortality after he and Enkidu, his companion, perform deeds that anger the gods, resulting in Enkidu's death.
That is very, very brief.
Yeah.
But yes.
It's a really good story, and not wishing, I mean, technically plugging another podcast, but not wishing to. The podcast Myths and Legends with Jason Weiser has a really good retelling of the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It's fun. And he puts a modern slant on it as well. So in it, Gilgamesh refuses to become the lover of the goddess Ishtar because of her cruel treatment of a previous suitor, a shepherd who she turned into a wolf. Later, one of Ovid, however you say it, Metamorphoses has the god Zeus turning King Lycaon into a wolf as a punishment for trying to trick him into eating human entrails. You're getting a theme here.
Absolutely.
But Lycaon is where we get lycanthropy.
Yeah. That's really clever. Look at you being clever.
If in doubt, blame the Greeks.
Werewolves made another early appearance in Greek mythology with the legend of what we just said,
Lycaon.
According to the legend, Lycaon, the son of
Pelagus or Pelagius,
angered the god Zeus when he served a meal made from the remains of a sacrificed boy. As the punishment, the enraged Zeus turned Lycaon and his sons into wolves. So that's kind of the story of what we just said about.
Werewolves also emerged in Nordic folklore, with the Saga of the Volsungs telling the story of a father and son who discovered wolf pelts that had the power to turn people into wolves for 10 days. The father-son duo donned the pelts, transformed into wolves, and went on a killing rampage in the forest. Their rampage ended when the father attacked his son, causing a lethal wound. The son only survived because a kind raven gave the father a leaf with healing powers. Ravens are a big deal, like Odin's ravens. Ravens are a big deal, but ravens are also in Norse mythology, Celtic and Native American are associated with magic. But the Saga of the Volsungs is really, really cool, and like you've got the Saga of the Volsungs and the Ring of the Nibelungs, and it's all about like gold and dragons, and that's where Tolkien took some of his inspiration for The Hobbit and the Dragon Smaug and the One Ring and the Lord of the Rings.
Fun.
Yeah.
10 days is also oddly specific. This pelt will change you for 10 days.
I'm surprised it's not 9, because 9 is like a sacred number in Norse mythology. So I'm surprised it's not 9. But yeah, you'll find a lot of odd specificities in folklore.
That was a fun way of saying that.
Yeah. I had to say it slowly because my brain was like, you're going to malfunction. So, what are some of the characteristics then of a werewolf? If I was looking for a werewolf, or I was thinking, oh crap, I think I might be a werewolf, what am I looking for?
Well, according to legend, most werewolves transform fully from human form to wolf form. The transformation may be temporary or permanent. The were-animal may be the man himself metamorphosized, may be his double, whose activity leaves the real man to all appearance unchanged, may be his soul, which goes forth seeking whoever it may devour, leaving its body in a state of trance. Or it may be no more than the messenger of the human being, a real animal, or a familiar spirit whose intimate connection with its owner is shown by the fact that any injury is believed by a phenomenon known as repercussion to cause a corresponding injury to the human being. So it could be anything and everything.
So, like,
really,
if I poked your cat, it would be like poking you. You'd get the bruise.
Possibly, if that's the type of werewolf I was.
Yeah, not that I would do that. I don't advocate that.
I know, I'd poke him. Especially when it just come out of his arse.
He is pungent. We had to pause recording the start of this just so that John could get rid of it, because not the cat, the repercussions of the cat.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, that whole paragraph is saying: is a werewolf a human? Is it not? Is it a cat? Is it not? Is it a soul? Is it not? Basically, anybody and anything could be a werewolf in disguise.
Anything wolf adjacent.
Absolutely.
Werewolves are typically described as looking much like real wolves, with fur-covered bodies, pointed ears, long snouts, razor-sharp fangs and claws, and bushy tails. Like real wolves, werewolves howl, growl, and hunt for prey. Most stories depict werewolves as monstrous, devouring animals, people, and corpses alike. In European folklore, the human form of a werewolf is said to have certain telltale characteristics, such as a monobrow, curved fingernails, or hair growing beneath the person's tongue. Oh god, that must feel horrible.
Yeah.
Similarly, some werewolves in modern fiction possess hybrid or in-between forms that retain both wolf and human characteristics, or become more monstrous than either form on its own. A Russian superstition recalls a werewolf that can be recognised by bristles under the tongue. I suppose it would say Save time buying a new toothbrush. Just like
But how would you use the underneath of your tongue to get the top teeth?
tongic acrobatics.
The appearance of a werewolf in its animal form varies from culture to culture. It is most commonly portrayed as being indistinguishable from ordinary wolves, except for the fact that it has no tail, a trait thought characteristic of witches in animal form.
So like a Manx cat of the wolf.
Pretty much. It's often large and retains human eyes and sometimes a voice. According to some Swedish accounts, the werewolf could be distinguished, this makes me die, from a regular wolf by the fact it would run on 3 legs, stretching the 4th one backwards to look like a tail.
So did somebody just basically see a lame wolf with a broken leg one day and go, you know what? That's werewolf.
He's obviously using its leg to be a tail, clearly. A 3-legged wolf with a tail. Nope. That is a 4-legged wolf that's using its leg as a tail.
I'm telling you, Sven, it's a werewolf. I saw a werewolf. I don't think you did, Olga. I'm telling you, Sven.
I absolutely did, Christoph.
Werewolves are better than people.
Sven, I don't think that's true.
I really wanted to keep singing and just make the last word rhyme by going, ooh. We haven't even got wine.
I have cider.
I have tea. Werewolf behaviour can vary a lot across different stories and legends. When they transform, they often turn super aggressive, typically driven by primal urges to hunt and kill. The savage nature makes them feared and dangerous, especially during a full moon when transformations are believed to be most common. In human form, these beasts might have heightened senses and a strong connection to nature. They can be more in tune with their surroundings, with sharper sight, smell, and hearing, which often makes them great hunters and trackers, even without turning into their werewolf form. So if you've got someone who's got really great eyesight, do they have great eyesight, or are they a werewolf?
If they can smell good.
Are they a werewolf? If they can hear great, are they a werewolf?
What?
Pardon?
Excuse me?
Huh?
Hello?
Hey! This is the quality content.
This is the stuff that keeps you coming back. Oh, Jesus. Some folklore suggests that werewolves can also be cunning and strategic, using their abilities to their advantage. In some stories, werewolves keep their human intelligence and can plan their moves carefully. This makes them formidable opponents who are not only physically strong, but also mentally sharp. However, modern interpretations emphasize a structured hierarchy within wolf packs. While inconsistent with most older myths and stories, the modern interpretation of werewolf behaviour and social structure has become the new norm in films and literature, which we will talk more about later.
Yeah, the concept. Oh.
Yeah, don't worry.
Oh, yeah. I try not to get annoyed about it. According to modern interpretations, a wolf pack is typically organised with a dominant breeding pair known as the alphas who lead the pack. The alphas are responsible for maintaining order and cohesion within the group. The pack structure includes betas, mid-ranking wolves, and omegas. Each member has a specific role, and the hierarchy helps maintain stability and social bonds within the pack. Dominance is often expressed through tail posture, body language, and direct eye contact.
Nice.
Which, yeah, like, wolves will make eye contact. But the weird thing is, like, if you're submissive to another human, you'll lower your eyes, won't you?
Mm-hmm.
Wolves will actually lift and show their throat as if to say, you know what, you could totally kill me, but I'm kind of asking you not to, because I respect that you're more powerful.
Please don't kill me, but here's my neck if you want to.
Yeah, here's my neck, don't chomp on me. So,
yes.
How would we become a werewolf?
I will tell you what to avoid, because these are how you would become a werewolf.
Or, if you're feeling, that way inclined, what you should go for.
Oh yes, if this is how you want to become a werewolf.
We accept all kinds.
One of the most common ways to become a werewolf is through a bite or a scratch of another. This method is widely popularised in modern literature and movies, but has roots in older folklore, where the transfer of lycanthropy through wounds was a common theme. According to most myths and legends, all werewolves were once human until they were scratched or bitten by a transformed or transforming werewolf, infecting them with the werewolf curse.
In many tales, individuals are transformed into werewolves due to a curse. Witches or other supernatural entities often place these curses as punishment. For example, the Greek myth of Lycaon tells of a king who was turned into a wolf by Zeus, which was the punishment.
Yeah.
In some stories, curses could be tied to specific items or conditions, like a full moon, increasing the mystique around the transformations.
Is that kind of like what happened to the Beast? He got cursed. Is he technically a werewolf?
He's a werebeast.
Yes.
Depends on which version you read, because in, like, you know, the Disney version, he's got horns, he's kind of like a hideous beast, big snout, he's wolf bear lion-ish. In the original version, he's got a trunk.
Wow.
He has hair and horns and claws and a trunk.
Of course he does. Why wouldn't he have a trunk?
All the better to sniff you with, Belle. So,
just made me think of one.
Our friend Rowan recently played, hi Rowan, and he recently played the Beast in a local Amjam version of Beauty and the Beast, so now you've got a mental image of Rowan walking around with a trunk, haven't you? Oh dear.
Oh, should we get back to the podcast?
Yes.
Some legends mention the use of magical items, such as an enchanted belt or wolf pelts, that grant the wearer the ability to transform into a wolf. These items could be worn or used in a specific ritual to induce the transformation. In medieval European folklore, it was believed that applying a special ointment could turn a person into a wolf-like monster. Additionally, a mixture of rare herbs known as sitsui,
I think so,
and hirasao can transform an individual into a werewolf if it is injected, creating artificial werewolves with enhanced strength and savage fury. Savage fur. And fury. Yeah. Their fur will be savage. It'll be upon them. Of course it'll be angry.
So you'd inject yourself with these herbs and it would... I mean, could we, just purely being logical here, could it have turned you into a werewolf, or could you have basically injected yourself with a form of natural growing LSD?
Yeah, and you're tripping balls.
I'm a wolf! No, Steve, you're an idiot.
I like the use of the name Steve.
Yep, Steve. It's a less common method, but certain folklore traditions suggest that drinking water from a wolf's paw print or consuming a potion made from specific herbs could trigger the transformation. So, food poisoning or getting high.
I don't know if I particularly want to drink water out of an animal's paw, if I'm honest with you.
Not the paw print. So they step in the dirt in the ground, it creates a paw print, and then you drink the water, like puddle water out of the paw. This belief highlights the connection between humans and wolves in the natural world, emphasising the mythical aspects of werewolf creation.
In some stories, the ability to transform into a werewolf is inherited. Families that are believed to be cursed or blessed with lycanthropy would pass the trait down through generations. This form of werewolfism is often depicted as more controlled, with individuals able to transform at will rather than being bound to the full moon. Interestingly, humans are particularly vulnerable to lycanthropy during their teenage years, with half of all werewolves falling between the ages of 11 and 17. Some speculate that this susceptibility may be due to sudden hormonal changes during puberty or a long dormant reawakening bloodline.
Are you feeling constantly hungry? Do you feel tired and unable to sleep at night? Are you getting hair in strange places and you smell a little bit feral? Are you a teenager or are you a werewolf?
Completely.
So that's how to become a werewolf.
Yes. So which one would you want?
Well,
if you had to pick if you were like, I want to be a werewolf, or someone was going to turn you into a werewolf, whether you wanted to or not, what would your choice of?
I mean, ideally, the genetic one would probably be the least painful.
Well, yes.
Or the drinking of the herbs. Failing that, the biting one, because the injecting one doesn't sound that fun to me. Or the puddle paw.
Oh yeah, puddle paw.
But or just a belt. If someone could, get me a nice belt, I would like to accessorise with a side of lycanthropy. Yeah.
Accessorise with a side of lycanthropy.
And now for the fall collection.
Amazing.
Yeah, what
That's the
about you?
second time you've howled on this podcast.
It won't be the last. And that's not just on this episode.
Nope. Probably, like you said, the obvious one would be the genetic one. That's if I had to.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe a little scratch.
Yeah. Just somewhere that's not like...
Like a little scratch on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Not my face.
No, we wouldn't want to spoil the face. It's beautiful. But just somewhere, because they're supposed to scar, aren't they? Like, they'll leave a scar forever. So somewhere that's nice and subtle. I mean, I've got enough stretch marks on my stomach. You might as well scratch there.
I'd quite like a scar that made like a battle wound.
Yeah.
But on my shoulder.
Yeah. Just like, was it a werewolf? It was a swashbuckling fight to the death with the werewolf, and I got nicked, but hey, you should see the other guy.
Exactly. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. Yeah. But what if you don't want to become a werewolf? Or what if you don't want your friends or family to become a werewolf? Or what if one of them has, and you have to stop them?
Would you like to know how you kill or cure a werewolf, Carrie?
I think we should.
I will tell you then. Werewolves are usually tough to kill with ordinary weapons.
Oh, well, that's it then.
So it'll be a bit more difficult. However, certain items and methods are believed to be effective. Silver, especially silver bullets, is a well-known weakness. Other methods include using wolfsbane, which is a toxic plant, performing exorcisms, because they always work, or using religious artifacts. Over time, various techniques have been developed to eradicate the werewolf form. In ancient times, the Greeks and Romans believed that exhausting a person could cure lycanthropy, making the victim undergo extensive physical activity in the hopes of purging the affliction.
That's why I'm not a werewolf. I'm exhausted.
Exactly. Maybe someone's tried to make you a werewolf, but you're constantly sleepy.
Thank you, my manager. To be fair, no, I take that back. He's a great manager. This approach, just in case he ever decides to listen to this, and this happens to
this would be the one. If he would, it would be this one, just because. That's live saying "fuck you, Carrie."
If you do, Tom, you're a legend. This approach came from the observation that many supposed werewolves felt weak and debilitated after their rampages. I'm sorry, but who doesn't feel knackered if you go off running in the woods for a couple of hours?
I mean, when I go on a rampage, I do feel a little bit. When I have, pillaged and purged the town, I feel a little bit, sleepy.
Yeah, I can't say it's something that I do too often.
Is it not?
No, mainly because I'm in the centre of town.
You paint the town beige.
Yeah, I paint the town beige, and if I'm going to go out, I have to walk out of my door into the middle of a car park with a street light. So it would be very obvious what is going on.
You're not inconspicuous, are you, my love?
No, and my rampage would be plodding along around the corner to the kebab shop.
I love a kebab, though.
Oh, yeah, kebabs are nice.
Tangent again, yep. My God.
So, during medieval Europe, there were 3 traditional methods for curing werewolfism. Medicinal, often using wolfsbane, as you said, surgical, or exorcism. However, many of the remedies promoted by medieval medical practitioners ended up being fatal. We are so shocked by that.
Yep.
In Sicily, an Arabic-influenced belief suggested that a werewolf can be cured by striking it 3 times on the forehead or scalp with a blade. I mean, that would cure most things that would especially cure life.
It would. But okay, if you're a werewolf, this will stop you being a werewolf, but you will die. If you're not a werewolf, you die.
On the plus side, you're not a werewolf. On the downside, you've lost part of your frontal lobe.
Maybe unless it's like the side of a knife. Just twatting with the side of a knife.
It's that of the blade. But then how would you not go on a rampage when some randomer just walks up to you and just goes clonk with a knife?
Yep. Well, another belief from the same area involves piercing the werewolf's hands with nails. Less severe methods were sometimes also thought to work. In German lowlands of the Schleswig-Holstein, a werewolf could be cured simply by addressing it 3 times by its Christian name. Carrie, Carrie, Carrie. I'm a kid you.
No, but I think you might have summoned me. Less werewolf, more Beetlejuice.
It's your time. Less werewolf, more Beetlejuice. What a sentence.
This is such a great show.
What's an episode?
So in Germany, they would just say your name 3 times,
Yeah.
which is quite frankly just polite conversation.
Isn't it?
In Denmark, the belief holds that just scolding a werewolf can cure it. Just walking up to a werewolf and just batting it on the nose and go, no, no, stop it.
I mean, it works for my cat for about 30 seconds.
Does it? Conversion to Christianity was also a common method for removing werewolfism during the medieval period. This takes all the fun out of it. Devotion to St. Hubert has been cited as both a cure for and protection against lycanthropy. Good old St. Hubert. Rolling in dew is another approach believed to cure the ailment. I'm sorry, but rolling around in wet grass is more likely to make me feel more like a dog than what?
Imagine if you did that and people are just walking past and were like, just curing my werewolfism. Just rolling in the grass. Don't mind me. St. Hubert.
I'm just rolling in the grass. I'm off to a baptism. See you later. Have you got a blade? Can you just whack me 3 times? Great.
Or just tell me off. Just tell me off. No.
By the way, my name's Carrie.
Oh, we're not taking this seriously at all.
This is where we open the door and there's just a werewolf there going, we need to talk.
The silver bullet theory that we mentioned previously is believed to have been inspired by a real-life incident in France in 1767, when a farmer is said to have killed a ferocious beast, possibly a wolf or a large dog, using silver bullets. Another method is to find the wolf's pelt, which some werewolves were said to have hidden during the daytime while they were in their human form, and then destroy it. This could be tricky, however, as werewolf pelts were believed to be impervious to most methods of destruction.
Yeah. So, if you want to, do a stunt for a film or TV show, and you don't want to get harmed or anything, you want to set fire to somebody, don't use a Holocaust cloak. Use a wolf pelt.
Yep.
Some so-called werewolves were said to have been cured of their affliction by exorcism, so the power of Christ compels you to not turn, or by dubious medical treatments such as bloodletting, induced vomiting, or drinking vinegar. You will sick the werewolf out.
I mean, okay.
I mean, if exhaustion is one of the things that cures it, then if you're vomiting and you're being bloodlet, you will basically be that exhausted, you will no longer be a werewolf. Because you will be dead.
Well, a lot of things, when people are scared and they think they try and cure you by either killing you and you're innocent, killing you and you were guilty. Yeah. Either way, you're dead.
Or exorcism. But I don't recall where it says anything about a werewolf in the Bible, so...
Well, when in doubt, exorcist.
That sometimes makes it worse, though.
Well, yes.
Yeah. So... we know how to spot a werewolf.
We do.
We know how to stop a werewolf.
Kind of.
Hang on, spot and stop. Anagrams of each other. We know how to spot, we know how to stop. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. It's a brain tangent in real life.
Look the look on your face.
Yeah. So we know how to spot them, we know how to stop them, we know how to become them. So what about, werewolves around the world? So have we got any famous examples of inactual werewolves?
Yes, we do. Starting in Germany, in Germanic folklore, werewolves are often seen as ferocious creatures that wreak havoc on villages and livestock.
Ooh. So, the first story we've got here is the Bedburg werewolf.
Not bedbug, Bedburg.
Peter Stump.
Yes.
He was a wealthy 16th century farmer in a place called Bedburg in Germany. He may be the most notorious werewolf of them all. According to folklore, he turned into a wolf-like creature at night and devoured many citizens of Bedburg. Peter was eventually blamed for the gruesome killings after being cornered by hunters who claimed they saw him shapeshift from wolf form to human form. He experienced a grisly execution after confessing under torture to savagely killing animals, men, women, and children, and eating their remains. He also declared he owned an enchanted belt that gave him the power to transform into a wolf at will. Not surprisingly, the belt was never found. Peter's guilt is controversial, since some people believe he wasn't a killer, but the victim of a political witch hunt, or perhaps a werewolf hunt would be more accurate. Either way, the circumstances surrounding his life and death stoked rampant fears at the time that werewolves were on the loose.
Nice. Another example is the tale of the Livonian werewolf, Theseus of Castleburn. Theseus claimed that he and other werewolves descended into hell to fight witches and demons, portraying a complex view of werewolves as protectors against greater evils.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept, werewolves as protectors. In 16th and 17th century France, there were a bunch of werewolf trials, very similar to the witch trials and going on at the same time, where people were accused of turning into wolves. The accused were believed to do horrible things, like attacking children and desiccating graves. Giles Garnier, the werewolf of Dole, was a notorious example. He was eventually accused and executed for his supposed crimes. Another notable case is that of Jean Renier, a teenage boy who claimed to transform into a wolf and attack young girls. And he was actually arrested because he was bragging about the fact that he was a wolf to a couple of young girls to impress them.
Brilliant. In Nordic mythology, the idea of the werewolf, or the Vargulf, mixes both savagery and honour. For instance, the saga of the Volsungs included the story of Sigmund and
Sinfjotli.
Of course, who wear wolf skins and become werewolves. When transformed, they can gain a wolf's strength and ferocity, but also keep their human minds and family loyalty. Additionally, the legend of
Ulfhethnar,
warrior shamans who wore wolf pelts and were believed to channel the spirits and strength of wolves in battle, shows the reverence and fear the Nordic cultures had of these creatures.
You know the concept of the berserker?
Yes.
That's, it's prevalent in a couple of cultures, but the most popular one is the Nordic culture, where they would basically get hopped up on a potion and descend into a slightly demented, rage-filled, meditative state and get themselves really, really worked up. And it didn't even need a potion sometimes. Sometimes it was just generally a mental state. And the idea was that they would wear bear skins or wolf skins and become, embody that creature, so then they could go and fight it. And they would go berserk. Become a berserker.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I enjoy that little tidbit.
But also, if you saw a man dressed in a wolf skin and whatever armor, or sometimes just like part of a wolf, and coming at you, go, "Ah!" and you'd be like, "Oh my god!"
Yes, you would run.
Yep. Some legends maintain werewolves shapeshift at will due to a curse. Others state they transformed with help of an enchanted sash or a cloak made of wolf pelt. Still others claimed people became werewolves after being scratched or bit by a werewolf. And in many stories, a person only turns into a wolf when there's a full moon, and that theory may not be that far-fetched. According to a study conducted at Australia's Calvary Mater Newcastle Hospital.
That's a mouthful.
It was a bit. A full moon brings out the beast in many humans. The study found that of the 91 violent acute behaviour incidents at the hospital between August 2008 and July 2009, 23% happened during a full moon. Patients attacked staff and displayed wolf-like behaviours such as biting, spitting and scratching. Although many were under the influence of drugs or alcohol at the time, it's unclear why they became intensely violent when the moon was full.
That is a true thing.
My mum works in mental health, and she genuinely marks it out on her calendar when the full moon is, because she knows it's going to go crazy, and that's why they call it lunacy.
Yeah, that, like when John used to work for the ambulance service, he says that there was definitely a thing you did not want to be the one on shift on a full moon.
Also, apparently, women who menstruate on the full moon, their menstruation is worse.
Oh,
yeah, like they get
why? That's crazy.
There is something to do with the same impact that the moon has on the tides. It has something to do with some sort of chemical imbalance. There's a whole load of studies into it, but there is a legitimate medical reason why the moon affects us. But yeah, that's hence the term lunar, moon, lunacy.
That's fun. Or not. In British folklore, werewolves are sometimes shown with a tragic side, highlighting the inner struggle between their human and wolf natures. The story of the Vulva, a kind-hearted werewolf from the Shetland Islands, is a unique example. The vulva is depicted as a solitary creature who helps humans by fishing for them during times of famine.
It's nice of it.
Other poignant tale is that of the old stinker, a werewolf from the Yorkshire Wolds. This creature was believed to have haunted the area for centuries, and though feared, there are accounts of it showing moments of mercy and humanity, such as sparing certain villagers from its wrath. Trust the British folklore to be like, here, have a nice side of a werewolf.
To be fair, there's Irish ones as well where they protect the entrance to the underworld, and they're kind of a specific type of werewolf, and they're nice. They're guardians. It's weird, but yeah, it's like if not friend, why friend shaped?
Exactly.
Greek and Roman myths also feature werewolf legends, often tying them to themes of punishment and transformation. For example, King Lycaon and his punishment by turning it into a wolf for his impiety and cannibalism, and he kind of broke the rules of hospitality, which you do not do.
No.
In Roman mythology, the Lupercalia festival, including rituals believed to protect people from wolves, and we actually do mention the Lupercalia festival in our episode about Julius Caesar, because that was something that he and Mark Antony took part in.
Yep. Look at you plugging our previous episodes. Proud of you.
Mr. Ray.
So now we're going to go into some more of the werewolf trials. They kind of are as ridiculous as they sound.
Yeah, but they also get really dark.
Yeah. Some 200 years before the witch trials in Salem, Massachusetts, courts in Europe were convicting men and some women of transforming into werewolves and mutilating and eating children.
As with accusations of vampirism and witchcraft, accusations of lycanthropy have been made during some periods of history to denounce personal or political rivals, or to otherwise punish or ostracize certain members of society, from hermits and beggars to suspected paedophiles and serial killers. Werewolves trials were held in parts of Europe from the 15th to the 17th century. However, because the confessions of these people were often made under duress, it's difficult to know whether they actually committed the crimes of which they were accused.
Well, that's a lot of crimes that happened in that time.
Yeah.
In France in the 16th century, several men claimed to have possessed magical ointment that turned them into wolves. They confessed to having killed and eaten numerous children and were burnt at the stake, which was considered to be the only effective method for killing a werewolf.
Honestly, sometimes it's like, if in doubt, burn it.
Innit?
The trial of Hans the Werewolf is a typical example of the combined werewolf and witch trials which dominated witch hunts in Livonia. In 1651, Hans was brought before the court in Idavere, accused of being a werewolf at the age of 18. He confessed that he'd hunted as a werewolf for 2 years. He claimed he'd gotten the body of a wolf by a man in black. When asked by the judges if his body took part in the hunt or if only his soul was transmuted, Hans confirmed that he had found a dog's teeth marks on his own leg, which he'd received whilst a werewolf. Further asked whether he felt himself to be man or beast whilst transmuted, he said that he felt himself to be a beast. Thereby, the court considered it proof that he had not merely entered the body of a wolf, but really transformed into one, which meant he had undergone a magical transformation. Furthermore, as he was given this disguise by a man in black, which the court thought was obviously Satan,
I mean, duh.
He could be judged guilty of witchcraft and sentenced to death. In the Baltic countries, this was a common method of turning a werewolf trial into a witch trial.
So you're saying that someone confirms that they magically turned into a werewolf means they're a witch too?
Yeah. Clearly, must be. Absolutely.
Clearly, obviously. One of the most notorious werewolf trials was that of the wealthy farmer named Peter Stump, who we mentioned before. This was in Germany in 1589. Local farmers claimed they had seen him transform into a wolf from a human. Though through means of torture, Peter did confess to having a magic belt that he used to transform into a werewolf and hunt and eat people, which we said before. His gruesome execution involved, in part, being strapped to a cartwheel, beheaded, and burnt at the stake.
Yeah, and at some point his body was displayed on the cartwheel with a wolf's head above it. Yeah. In 1521, inquisitors appointed by the Pope presided over several trials of alleged werewolfery. That's a fun one, werewolfery.
I know, I was thinking that. That's funny.
Subsequent werewolf trials often featured similar details: men in black, a magic salve, belts or skins that turn the accused into wolves, attending witch ceremonies late at night, and going on bloodthirsty rampages. Supposed eyewitnesses testified to seeing huge glowing eyes and long pointed teeth, and beasts running with superhuman speed.
Contesting the church's authority, the secular parliament in Dole soon took charge of werewolf prosecutions, at one point encouraging citizens to assemble armed with clubs, halberds, pikes, abacuses, and cudgels. Why would the cudgels seem so weird for me? To hunt down the named werewolf where they might find, catch, shoot, or kill them, according to an edict of parliament cited in Schutel's book.
In 1573, a St. Claude's Grand Judge, Henri Bouguet, became convinced that a large group of witches and werewolves was terrorising the community, and he ordered multiple arrests and prosecutions, with the charges often used interchangeably. He also authored treatises on various forms of demons, including werewolves, and in 1598 alone pronounced 17 death sentences. But he had to reconcile his legal views with the Church's official position that God alone could transform humans, and the devil could only create illusions. Noting that he'd seen confessed werewolves snarling and prancing around the courtroom on all fours, Bouguer concluded that they were clearly under the devil's spells and thus equally deserving of execution, according to Schult.
Courts sometimes called in physicians to testify. A common medical view was that confessed werewolves suffered from melancholia, a kind of depression that included mania and delusions. Some doctors gave the devil his due, however, and opined that Satan could have caused such ailments by altering bodies' humours, a line of reasoning that was impossible to disprove and accepted by a majority of physicians, according to a German medical historian, Nadine Metzger.
Modern medical experts theorise that some accused werewolves could have suffered from porphyria, which causes sensitivity to light, reddish teeth, and psychosis, or hypertrichosis, a hereditary condition that manifests in excessive hair growth. Lycanthropy, believing oneself to be a werewolf, might have been brought on by deliberately or unwittingly consuming hallucinogenic herbs, mushrooms, or folk concoctions.
Which is what we said.
Yeah.
Werewolf trials continued sporadically in the 17th century in Germany, the Netherlands, and Eastern Europe, particularly in isolated rural areas. But gradually, the educated and elite stopped believing in the devil or animal transformation. In 1692, in Livonia, Sweden, as we said before, the 80-year-old man Theseus was laughed out of court when he professed to being a werewolf and entering hell 3 times a year to battle witches and devils and ensure a good harvest. He was later convicted of practicing folk magic, sentenced to flogging, and banished for life.
I'd be interested to see if, after he was banished, if they had bad harvests.
I didn't think to research that.
Yeah.
That would have been fun to know.
I mean, it would potentially have been entirely coincidental, but also it would have been a funny coincidence.
Wouldn't it, though?
As the threat posed by real wolves in Europe slowly vanished due to industrialisation and population growth, Metzger writes that even the delusion of being a werewolf was gradually replaced by other forms of psychosis. So that real threat of the wolf there was no longer there. So there wasn't that kind of uncanny valley between what humans could be and become a beast, because there was no real threat from wolves anymore. So there's no real threat from humans.
Mm-hmm. How many people were tried and convicted of being a werewolf in all? Several scholarly papers report that 30,000 were executed as werewolves in France alone between 1520 and 1630. But Dutch historian William de Belcourt traced the origin of that figure to 1,611. No. I completely...
Your brain just malfunctioned.
To a 1611 book by Pierre de Lancre. Another serious werewolf prosecutor, noting that it is referred to all the inhabitants of the Regard region of region of France. That's because Delacre believed that every family practiced witchcraft in some form. Blécourt concludes that a number of prosecuted werewolves in Europe probably did not exceed several hundred. But still, that's several hundred.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, Delacre, he actually interviewed Jean Grenier, the teenage werewolf, and he wrote about his trial.
That's fun.
Yeah. He's fascinating. He wrote a lot about witch trials and other trials as well.
That's fun.
So that was kind of historical.
Yeah.
But some more modern.
Yes, this is where it goes into the kind of how we know werewolves today.
So by the 19th century, tales of werewolves had become popular in literature. Writers such as Charles Maturin wrote Melmoth the Wanderer in 1820, Alexandre Dumas, the Wolf Leader in 1857, and Rudyard Kipling in 1890 wrote The Mark of the Beast.
An exceptionally influential novel in the werewolf tradition is The Werewolf of Paris in 1933 by Guy Endore, the importance of which had been likened to that of Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1897 for vampires. Endore's novel was later adapted into the film The Curse of the Werewolf in 1961 by renowned horror studio Hammer Films, who also do the Saw movies.
Yep. One of the first big films about a werewolf was, of course, Werewolf of London, 1935. Other notable werewolf films include The Wolfman in 1941, John Landis's horror comedy An American Werewolf in London in 1981, The Howling, again 1981, it's a good year for werewolves,
isn't it?
And its sequels, which are based on a series of books by Gary Bradner.
The werewolf has also been used as a metaphor for drastic and sometimes unpredictable changes of puberty, as seen in a very camp B-movie, I Was a Teenage Werewolf in 1957, a coming-of-age comedy Teen Wolf in 1985 starring the Michael J. Fox,
legend,
and the darkly humorous horror film Ginger Snaps in 2000.
That was the prosthetics in that was something.
Absolutely.
In music, werewolves are the star of Warren Zevon's 1978 satirical hit song Werewolves of London. Michael Jackson's epic music video for the song Thriller in 1982 features a segment in which Jackson transforms into a werewolf.
And both of those songs are very popular this time of year.
Yep.
Contemporary literature also features its share of werewolves. Horror legend Stephen King dipped into the werewolf tales with his novel The Cycle of the Werewolf in 1983.
I mean, what kind of horror has Stephen King not dipped into?
Well, yeah, to be fair.
In the Harry Potter series, Harry's friend and mentor, Remus Lupin, R.I.P. Remus Lupin, is revealed to be a werewolf who must drink a special potion to keep his human wits when he changes during the full moon. To remember, this heart is where you truly lie.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I just wanted to be serious back for a minute.
It was.
Can we be serious now?
No, because we're talking about Twilight. The main love triangle of the Twilight series of books by Stephanie Meyer revolves around protagonist Bella and her suitors Edward, a vampire, and Jacob, a werewolf.
The Twilight series is one of a number of examples from modern media in which werewolves are depicted as being in opposition to vampires, as in the film Underworld 2003 and its sequels, which I love, and the horror mockumentary What We Do in the Shadows and its series.
However, in the horror film The Wolfman in 2010, starring Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins, two werewolves go head-to-head in a fight to the death.
That's such a good film.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a good film. There's also there's a series of books as well called The Wolf Gift series by Anne Rice.
Oh, nice.
Which are really, really good. Werewolves have also appeared in video games,
yes,
such as World of Warcraft, The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess, and The Wolf Among Us, as well as the tabletop role-playing game Dungeons and Dragons and Werewolf the Apocalypse. Yeah,
cool.
Sorry, I had to say Dungeons and Dragons in an epic way.
You did. I mean, it would have been weird if you hadn't.
Yeah. I love werewolf things. You've also got them in True Blood.
Yes, I haven't seen True Blood, but I know that you had. There's lots of werewolf depictions in Supernatural, which we obviously both love and watch.
Yes. And there's werewolves and hybrids in the Vampire Diaries in the originals, and I think in Legacies as well.
There must be.
Yeah. They're everywhere, to be fair. You can't, you throw a stone and you hit a werewolf. Probably not a good idea. If you're near a werewolf, don't throw a stone at it.
Well, no.
No.
And you said about the Anne Rice books. Is there any other books that have werewolves in? Because you read more of that kind of genre.
I do. Oddly enough, I don't have a lot of fiction books that have werewolves in, although, and I haven't finished it yet, but I am actually writing a book with a werewolf character in, based on the Irish version, where he's an Irishman, but he's one of the werewolves that guards the underworld and can change at will.
Oh.
But there's loads of werewolves in popular fiction. If you go into like Halloween horror movies, things like Marvel werewolf.
Werewolf by Night, yeah. And they've actually, that's the original that was released, a year ago? Was it 2 years ago now? 2
years ago, I think.
It was in black and white, but this year they've released it in colour.
Yeah.
So you can watch Werewolf by Night in colour.
Which is cool. I mean,
apparently, you'd think it's totally like standalone, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's going to have an impact on other Marvel movies, the werewolf, the guy who's the werewolf.
That doesn't surprise me. It can link in, and that's one thing that kind of it makes me a little bit sad, because do you remember the film Dracula Untold?
Yes.
With Luke Evans. That was supposed to be like one of the origin films to set up the Dark Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And you had Dracula Untold starting off, and then you were supposed to have had The Mummy, the Tom Cruise remake.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were meant to have had The Wolfman was the next one.
Right.
And then it was starting to bring them all into this dark monsters universe, where the monsters will then start to kind of be aware of each other and kind of combine, which would have been really, really cool.
Would have been really cool.
Yeah. But we didn't get that Wolfman. I think we're getting another Wolfman film or TV series at some point, but it's not going to be part of that dark universe.
Oh.
It's sad, because that would have been cool.
They set it up and everything. It would have been easy, but
Yeah.
We aren't the ones that make the decisions.
We aren't.
No. But anyway, that is werewolves. What do you think of werewolves?
That is cool. Oh, I have one more story.
Oh, go on.
Have you ever heard of the werewolves of Ossory?
Of Ossory?
Mm-hmm.
No.
So, you know what you were saying earlier about how you can become a werewolf and you kind of become genetic, but also you get cursed. This is a story in Irish folklore where St. Patrick was going around the country and trying to convert, and he went to a part of Ireland called Ossory, a little village, and he tried to convert them, but the people there were like really into their pagan ways, and they were like, no, you can't stay. If you stay here, we'll hurt you, we'll kill you. We don't want that, get out. So he prayed to God to curse them and be like the savage god that they worshipped, and the entire town became wolves. And then over time they became werewolves, and they were cursed to live as werewolves until they basically repented, or St. Patrick asked God to take the curse off. So allegedly, apparently, until very recently, there has still been werewolves in Ossory.
Has there?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've personally never been to Ossory, so
I mean, if you're listening in Ossory, are you a werewolf?
Yeah, if you are, howl at us.
Oh. I knew it would be the last time you howled.
No, you should just try it sometime. Just randomly howl. It's actually oddly releasing.
Okay, I'll consider it.
Yeah. If you have a cool werewolf story, then get in touch with our socials.
Yes, please do.
We're Cup of History on everything. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook.
We haven't done anything on TikTok for a while. We should do that.
We haven't. We should. Should we do a video of just randomly howling?
And be like, you want to know why? Listen to our latest episode.
And which case, people will probably watch that and be like, no.
You are insane.
Lunacy. So
werewolves.
That was brilliant. I actually really enjoyed that.
Did you?
I like werewolves.
We've gone on a few tangents.
We
There's
have.
so much about werewolves, though. Like, honestly, when I was researching this, I had to be careful that it didn't become 10 hours long because there was so much. And there's a werewolf story from, like, literally every town in the world. So it would literally take forever.
See, I find that fascinating because you get that and the similarities as common threads in them.
Yeah.
And yet there's some of these that until like relatively recently in the history of mankind haven't interacted with each other. And yet they've still got werewolf stories.
Which is cool.
But there's not just werewolves, there's like were-cats and were-tigers and like were-birds.
Were just kind of means changed, isn't it?
Yeah. Where is the it's the man part of it.
Yeah.
And then you've got other shapeshifters like your actual shapeshifters and your skinwalkers and things like that, which I'm not going to talk about too much because apparently to talk about them is to invoke them.
Okay.
But yeah, you've got shapeshifter myths from all across the world. It's fascinating.
It is very cool.
Fascinating.
Well, do you want to hear a werewolf kind of inspired ridiculous death?
Go on then, hit me with it.
Cool, so ridiculous death segment now. And you who don't know this, I don't think you know this story previously.
I don't looking at the title of it. It doesn't ring a bell.
Cool. So you've never heard of the Wolf of Ansbach?
No.
Okay. The Ansbach wolf is a wild and creepy legend from the Bavarian town of Ansbach, back when it was part of the Holy Roman Empire. The story goes that in 1685, a massive, ferocious wolf was wreaking havoc in the area, attacking livestock and children, and scaring the daylights out of all the locals. But what makes this story stand out? Well, it was the chilling belief that the monster wasn't just an ordinary animal. Folks thought it was a werewolf, and not just any werewolf, but the reincarnation of their recently deceased and much-hated mayor, Michael Zestafe. Straffe was not a pleasant man. His rule was deeply unpopular among the townspeople, and when he died, nobody really mourned his loss or cared very much. In fact, his death was probably celebrated by those who had to endure his cruel and harsh governance. That was until something strange happened. Just after Bergmeister's funeral, a mysterious beast attacked and killed some sheep and cows. Bit of a leap now. Initially, the Wolf of Ansbach was just a pesky nuisance, preying mainly on livestock. However, things took a terrifying turn when the wolf started targeting children.
Yep, that'll do it.
Yep. After the firstborn's body was found in the woods, the townspeople's anxiety quickly morphed into superstition. Because, obviously. Since belief in werewolves was widespread in Europe at this time, they were often seen as manifestations of evil or punishment for sins. It didn't take long for the locals to link the mysterious beast with a supernatural monster. And as the attacks escalated, the townspeople began to suspect that the mayor's malevolent spirit in wolf form was responsible for everything. Because, obviously, multiple sightings were reported, sightings of a large black wolf, plus rumours of its unnatural cunning and ferocity that only strengthened the belief that they were dealing with something beyond a mere animal. Organising a hunt, setting traps, using hunting dogs to attack and drive the wolf out of its hiding spots in the nearby forest. The intense search lasted for several days. Eventually, the restless hunters and their dogs drove the wolf into an uncovered well. Trapped with no way to escape, the wolf was cornered and killed by the hunters. End of the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly. What happened next was extraordinary and macabre as the hunt itself. And this is where the ridiculousness comes from.
Okay.
As well as, ridiculous thinking that this wolf that's, eating your cows and killing your children is the reincarnation of your old horrible mare wasn't ridiculous enough.
Not just a lone wolf where you've encroached on its territory, it's getting desperate, it's getting hungry.
Exactly. As strange as it might sound, the capture and execution of the wolf did not simply conclude with its death. After the beast was slain, its body was subjected to a bizarre and macabre ritual. The carcass was dressed in human clothing, a flesh-coloured suit, a mask, a wig, and a beard, all meant to resemble the the deceased and detested mayor, Michael Least Sestafi. Next, the dressed wolf's body was paraded through the streets. It was a public display of triumph intended to reassure the frightened townspeople that the threat had been neutralised. Following the parade, the wolf's body was hanged from a gibbet, a structure which was typically used for displaying bodies of executed criminals. The hanging body of the wolf was left on display for several days so that members of the community had opportunity to witness the downfall of the creature that had terrified them. And eventually the wolf's body was taken down and preserved for permanent display at a local museum.
So, is it potentially it's still in the museum?
Yeah.
You can go and see the body of this wolf dressed up as
an old mayor,
Burgermeister Strafe, after being hung in a gibbet for several days and subjected to stuff. Sorry.
So, not only is it ridiculous that they were like, oh, there is a wolf killing our livestock. It can't just be an animal. It must be the reincarnation of our old mayor. And then it's dead. Let's dress it up to look like the mayor and hang it for everyone to see.
I can kind of, to an extent, understand the leap to a supernatural response, because what they're going through, especially with the kids dying, was so traumatic that, you know, it can't purely be natural. It has to be a supernatural explanation. I kind of get that. But then what they did afterwards was just purely revenge on this poor animal. I mean, even if it was like...
Who decided? Who sat there and was like, you know what we need to do with this dead wolf? Dress it like the mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a proper hear me out conversation.
Innit? Just listen before you judge.
Yeah. Listen before you judge. But also, we've judged the wolf, but don't judge me. Yeah, it was... So
there's our ridiculous dead.
People be weird.
People be very, very weird.
Grief and fear does some strange things to peeps.
Didn't it, though?
Right. So, we are hoping that the next time you hear from us, it will be out and about on a spooky outing.
Yep.
But if the weather is against us again, we'll figure something out.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I mean...
Yeah, we'll find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Hey.
Yay. Right, that's it then.
Yes, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed Spooky Month, and fingers crossed we'll be back with you on Halloween.
Ooh. But if not, have a good Halloween. Stay safe, stay practical, and trick or treat.